7 carries, Taylor only needed to throw 2 passes. Did you sense that setup allowed Taylor to get more comfortable?
Could. I mean, I don't know that we'll ever have a concrete answer on that, but I would say first time he's really ever quarterbacked on the road, been the guy, that it might have helped him. I said this afterwards. It's the best we've played there in a long time. We have not played very well in Lawrence for I don't know how many years. And I was impressed with our game plans. We weren't very good in special teams, and that's my fault. We'll get that corrected. But offense and defensively, we had good schemes, and I thought the players bought in and executed it, and I think that might have helped as much as anything. But I don't think there's any denying if you can get your running back going early in a game, it makes for a much better day.
It obviously worked on Saturday, but is it a point of concern for you at all that 306 of your 312 receiving yards went to just 3 guys?
Well, I didn't know that till you just told me that. That'd be 2 and 88 and 13. So, but by numbers, we're kind of getting down to just a few guys anyway. We really got 4 wide receivers that aren't playing now that were in our 2 deep essentially when we started the year. So we're going to have to get some quality work out of 8. 81's going to have to give us some work. Are they ready to play? I don't know. The other guys' load's pretty heavy. Now, we only had 66 plays in this game, so that allowed us a little more room for guys not getting burned up as much. We stay pretty close to 80 most of the time. So I thought it was managed well, and in the end, they still have to defend the run. So whoever's going to get the ball, really the only way that essentially defensively you can take some guy away is if you roll the corner and put a safety over the top of him. We used to see that some with James and Blackman and those guys. But that removes somebody from the box, and I wouldn't think anybody would really want to do that against us right now.
Is Brady Johnson a guy who had been practicing much inside before last week?
I would say some, not a lot. He's a player that's going to be interesting to watch as we progress through because he's going to get reps now. And he's so fast. Well, you guys saw him if you were at the game, but when he ran down the middle of the field, he's got blinding speed, and so he's a really good threat for us in what we do offensively. Hopefully he'll mature fast and be able to make some plays for us.
Mike, I know you've always felt better about your offense when your Cowboy backs. When you've had good Cowboy backs, it's been hard to stop this thing. Do you feel like you're on the edge there? Because Jelani had a couple of huge blocks. The touchdown, he sealed the deal for Justice on that. Had another big block, and he's starting to come along as a receiving threat. And I know Logan's a walk-on behind him, but he's getting some things done. Is that position progressing?
They're progressing. They have a ways to go. Progressing is a good term. They're young. Logan's never played. Jelani's just a guy that's gotten quite a few reps here lately, but experience is not there for them. But I like both of those guys. I think 87 is going to get better and better and better as he progresses. He's starting to fit into that role of the guys that we've had walk on at that position. And Jelani should. I mean, there's only so many people that walk the face of the earth that are 6'8" and weigh 265 pounds that can somewhat control their body. So I'm excited about the progress, but they're still very young.
With Jelani, what do you like that he's done, and where are some areas that you think he can get better?
He should be a good pass receiver. He's long, got long arms. He's tall. He's rangy. He's got good hands. He's athletic. The blocking's going to come along slower. He was a quarterback, and now all of a sudden he's in the trenches in the Big 12. That's a very big jump. So he'll continue to improve, and that's where he's at right now. He just needs a lot of reps. He needs another spring ball before we play the next game is what he needs, but obviously that's not going to take place.
You mentioned that he's played that tight end role before and been in situations where he's had to block before. Was the plan for him to be a quarterback when he came, or was there always an option to possibly have him slide into that Cowboy back role?
We signed him as a quarterback.
Adversity, you talk about responding to that with the transfer, the injuries, guys having to stay at home. Was that a rallying point for the Cowboys at Kansas?
It could have been. We talked to him. I mean, we got to the middle of the week. When we get the injury reports really Tuesday-ish, we knew we had some guys out. Then had a couple weird things happen in practice during the week. So we said, look, here's the deal. You go 70 strong. That's us and the staff and people that travel with us. And us against everybody and got to find a way to get it done. Young guys got to step up and make plays. Coaches got to coach the guys that are healthy. That's just the way it is. And so I thought they did a really good job of that. And they might have rallied around each other. You know, it's hard to really tell, but I'll say it again, but it's the best that we've played in the first half at Kansas in a long, long time.
How nice is it to have a veteran guy like Enoch Smith able to step in when Darren goes down?
You know, that was a tough blow for us with him. And Enoch's been around, and, you know, the only downfall is now he doesn't get to rest. So he's in there a lot. But when you have a veteran guy, it makes it a lot easier. When you lose, like what's happened to us at wideout, now we have guys in there that haven't really played. So they're in there, but they haven't got the reps. So Enoch made a big difference, having the experience.
We've seen the double-edged sword now with that red shirt rule. You know, the young players can play 4 games, still keep the red shirt. The double-edged sword is the situation with Jalen. But now you got another one. I mean, Darian, depending on what his thought process is, can come back and play another year. When will you get to addressing that with him, you think?
You know, here's what's interesting. Or he could go somewhere else and play. And so that's what you're faced as a coach and trying to balance your numbers, your 85 scholarships and your 25 initials, which I am not really excited about right now based on the new policies that are in place and the way that we're handling the numbers at this point. I hope like crazy that he's here next year, but I'm giving you an example of the life that we live, is that in that situation, just like anybody else in the country, the player has the liberal advantage of at any time walking in and saying, I'm going to enter my name into a database, could be at the end of next spring, and I'm going to go play somewhere else, and I can't make that number up. I don't get that number back. So it was very difficult to take. Anytime a player's injured, it's hard to take. But it's even more difficult in trying to manage numbers when we're not for sure at any particular time who could be there when you start the season next fall.
How does Brailford's versatility impact this defense, the fact that you're able to give different looks, whether he's at an end position, standing up as a defensive tackle at times against Kansas this past weekend?
Well, he's been very talented for a number of years and has always been slowed a little bit by health. And I said this a few weeks ago, knock on wood, he's been healthy and he plays fast, he's energetic. And I think what people don't realize is when you play the game at this level and you have nagging injuries all the time, you just don't feel that good. You know, it's like you say, okay, I'm going to get into this new exercise routine. I'm going to jog twice a week. I'm going to go to the weight room and do light weights twice a week. And if you're sore and you don't feel good, you don't really want to do it. But you do it maybe, and maybe you don't. Now he's healthy, and I think he feels good. He's comfortable. He's practicing hard, and I think we're starting to see those results. They've come up with good plans with moving him around. I like what they're doing. When Coach Knowles came here, we had that discussion that would like to try to do some 3-down stuff, and I just know what it's like on the offensive side. And so he's really implemented some nice plans there that the players, including Brailford, have been able to pick up on.
Can you think of a defensive lineman during your time here that could do that or did do that as effectively as he has so far? I mean, seven sacks this early in the season, one of the top in the country.
Well, you know, we've had some good ones, obviously, Ogball and guys that have been really good players, but he's been an exceptional pass rusher up to this point. And he has a combination of speed and power, and he has really good flexibility. I think we talked about this maybe a couple weeks ago. And those guys, even in the NFL, the guys that are good pass rushers can carry a certain speed upfield, but then they can dip and have flexibility to get down under those blocks. And at this point, he's shown that he can accomplish that goal, and hopefully he'll stay healthy and do it the rest of the year.
As a team, you guys almost have as many sacks now as you did all of last year. How much of that is what Knowles has brought to this defense?
I would say a lot of it, but there's also a point where Brailford's healthy. Owens is playing pretty good. You got Mike Scott on the other side and rushes in his own unique way. You know, the other day he ran around the tackle, around the other back, and came back around the other way and got a sack. You don't really see that a lot. So if you have a couple guys on the edge that have the ability to rush the quarterback, you can't really turn and set protections to help two. You can help one. whether you're chipping a back or whatever scheme you're going to use X and O's wise. And I think that helps us having a couple active rushers on both sides.
Your thoughts on Iowa State? I know you probably haven't seen them on any crossover stuff yet, but your thoughts on Iowa State?
It's Iowa State. Not giving up very many points, 16.9 or 0.8, something like that a game. I'm not sure what it is. Or maybe they're averaging that on offense and giving up 20 a game. I'm not for sure, but playing their 3 down and dropping 8 and quarters and 2 and some 3 and some 4 robber, and then offensively, the same scheme they've always used. I know they're playing this other quarterback. I don't know if the starter's in or out or what's going on with him, but zone schemes and pull schemes and guys throwing the ball. The guys playing now is throwing the ball down the field and really playing pretty good. He had a good day against Oklahoma and had a decent throwing day against Akron. A typical team, not going to beat themselves. I think they have 5 turnovers, maybe 4 fumbles and an interception. They only penalize 41 yards a game, so they don't beat themselves. If you're going to have a success and win, you're going to have to do it to them. In most cases, they don't do it to themselves.
Does it help a little bit? It sure looked like Clint Bowen up at Kansas has kind of adopted some of their style on defense, especially up front. Does that help a little bit?
Some a little different in how they want to do it up front, but there are some similarities. It's a growing craze right now, that style, and with teams that are spread out, it's somewhat advantageous to be in those looks in this league, and so it's starting to grow a little bit. And there are quite a few similarities, a little bit of a different approach from keys and how they're reading their monster back and safeties and corners and trap corner and different things they're doing. A little more trap corner at Iowa State than what you were getting at Kansas, but a lot of the same principles.
Mike, you guys played well at home in non-conference play. Is it strange to you at all how the record just isn't there for you guys for the last couple of years at home in conference games?
Yeah, somewhat. I wish everybody quit asking me that and come up with an answer. Because I'd like to use it, but it's interesting. I mean, there's probably not anybody in this room, including Kinsey, that would have thought that we would have played as well in the first half at Kansas. I mean, so we didn't do anything different in practice. We had the same meetings and coached the same and so on and so forth, and so I've thought about that a lot. I think it's sometimes maybe our guys relax at home. I don't know. I mean, and when when we're on the road, we know that we have to be structured and disciplined and all those things. And then at home, maybe I'm not doing a good enough job of getting them focused, and maybe we're relying on the crowd too much. But that certainly has to change. We've got an unbelievable place to play a game, and we've got a great crowd. We need to perform a little better.
8 penalties the last 2 games against Big 12 opponents. Concerning to you?
Yeah, that's one of the first things I mentioned after the game. We've got 24 ran into a punter, and he didn't have any chance to block the punt. It should have been leg side instead of coming across his leg. 87 grabs a guy by his jersey and throws him in the ground and gets an offensive pass interference. And we had him stopped one time, and 28 grabbed the guy, and we got a pass interference, and he didn't even need to grab him. He's in great coverage. He's right there, and all he needed to do was play his technique. He grabs him, they get a 15 yards, and the next play I think the kid broke the 50-yard run or whatever. And then we had something else happen that I didn't like. You got 2 penalties in special teams. We get a push in the back and just blatant push in the back. And so you cost yourself with 60 yards on penalties that were not even necessary. And those are things that we have to get cleaned up. Those are a lack of discipline, and that all falls on my shoulders. So the good news is one of them was 32, one of them was 87, one of them was 24. Okay, 3 of those guys have not played very much. So we correct them, we coach them, we teach them, show them, and try to fix it. 18 had a arguably whatever you want to call it, but it wasn't as bad, and I could see what he was trying to do. He was trying to seal the guy off, and his hand got in the back, so it's a penalty by rule. But it wasn't like the other ones. But those things need to be cleaned up. We're not a good enough football team to give people free yards on penalties, and especially extend drives when we haven't stopped, which we did twice.
The sequence down on the, I guess, the north end in the second quarter, Chuba they reviewed, didn't feel like the ball got in. Taylor carried it the next time. I mean, I'm hearing from Dave and John upstairs, he's in, they don't review it. And then Jelani gets the pass interference, and you didn't mention that penalty, because I'm guessing you may have sent the tape into the conference because he was being held. Your thoughts on that? Because that's a big touchdown, ends up being a field goal.
You know, I have not seen it, but I had numerous text messages and a couple phone calls about what good do we have using replay when we see it's a touchdown and we don't change the call. Now, have y'all seen it? Has anybody seen a TV copy? Was it a touchdown?
What, on Jelani?
No, on Chuba, and then somebody said corn dog was over.
Yeah, Dave was convinced that maybe Taylor had stuck the ball over the edge of the goal line, and they didn't even look at that one. And it was close enough for review.
Somebody said they showed the review on TV and it was a touchdown. Is that correct? So I don't even know how to comment on it. I don't understand it. We've had zero luck on we had a fumble out here in the first game or something where it showed that his elbow was on the ground, the ball was still intact, and they called a fumble. So I don't know what anybody looks at anymore. With Jelani, you know, you have a guy, they're playing man coverage on the goal line. He's coming off the ball. That guy's pushing him. He's pushing him, and they said we had pass interference, and I guess maybe that was the big guy pushing on the little guy, and so they blamed the big guy. So I don't know, but obviously we got to do a better job. But I have a hard time deciding what you do with reviews anymore. I watched a game a few weeks ago where a guy got tackled in the end zone. He was in the end zone. It was clearly a safety, and it was. I mean, I've been around football for a long time. It's a safety. I didn't even think about it. Went in and got another vodka smoothie, came back in and sat down, and they didn't give it a safety. I had no idea why, and they said, well, he was out of the end zone, which I don't care, but it was a safety. And they're reviewing it, so I don't understand them anymore, so I don't even ask. Now, here's the question I get. Everybody calls, so why don't you burn a timeout and have them do it? Well, we've all been told. They're looking at the play, and we weren't even playing fast, so they looked at Chuba's for, 30 seconds? They looked at Taylor's for 30 seconds. They didn't change it. So if I burn a timeout, I'm just wasting my time because they're supposed to be looking at it. I think we have a guy in the booth at Kansas and back in Dallas, right? So you got multiple guys looking at it. So you're just wasting your time burning a timeout to ask them to review it again. So that's kind of where it's at. But it's good, I guess. I'm good.
Can you talk about the day that Justice had and with how he handled the increased workload and how he's responded after that?
He's been good. He was good yesterday. He ran well. I have concerns about him carrying the ball 30 times. I don't know how many how many carries does he have right now total? So I was right. I wanted him 15 a game, so that's exactly what he's at, right? 15.3, 15.2. So he's right where we want him to be. That's why we conserve him early in the year. And then people say, well, you carried 30 then and carried 5, but the hits are all the same. Because when he carries the ball 75 times up to this point, he's getting hit 70 of those 75 in most cases. So it doesn't make a difference when the hits occur. Now, what you're talking about is an issue. I'm concerned about him toting the rock 30 times a game. It's a lot of wear and tear on him because those guys take more direct shots than any other position. So we'd like to keep those around 20 times a game and with where we're at from this point moving forward if we have that luxury. 30 can run, 27 can run. And it just didn't work out in this game that they were in there as much, but we like them. We have confidence in them. Justice has a good stamina and a good cardiovascular system, so he doesn't come out very much. He likes to play the game.
One of the guys you mentioned post-game was Devin Harper filling in for Bundage. What do you like about how he's coming along?
He played good. You know, he made more mistakes than I thought. I don't understand defense enough to watch it close. I'm not as accurate as I am sometimes on offense, but I thought he did well. I thought he was physical. I thought he said, okay, I'll meet the challenge. I thought he tackled good, and so that was encouraging. He's an example of sometimes when you lose a starter, everybody panics, but the next guy will play better than you think whenever it's his time to play. he kind of fit that criteria.
What makes Tylen so effective in your offense?
Well, he's a good jumper, a good leaper, and he's got good hands. He takes the ball at the highest point, and he's got really good body control. Wide receivers' ability to take the ball at the highest point and control their body is so important in today's game with all the different stuff we see. And, I mean, he's fast, but he's not going to run like Tyreek. Probably nobody runs like Tyreek, but he's got great body control, and he's a good leaper.
You could play back that quote you just had without saying the name, and it would sound like you're talking about James Washington.
Yeah, that's right. And you know, James had an unusual ability to run down the field and see a ball in the air and run faster and catch it when most kids slow down. You know, it's natural when you start to see it, you start to try to slow down. James never slowed down. Tylen doesn't have that, I don't think. He's still young, but I think Tylen might have better body control on balls that aren't in the air. There's times that he's probably more flexible at that than maybe what James is, which is awesome. James is getting to play a lot. He's in all the 3 wide sets, so it's pretty cool.
How do you feel about the timing of your bye week, just in the scope of the season?
Well, we play Iowa State, and then don't we play next week?
Yeah.
And then it's a bye?
Yeah.
So that'd be after game, what, 6, 7? That's about right. You know, anywhere from 5 to 6 or 7 I think is fine. And honestly, if you schedule right and you can stay healthy and get through a few conference games and push a few more there, it's probably a good deal. It's probably better this way. But anywhere from 5 to 7 to me is okay. Early, and late doesn't do me much good, if any. But I think it's good. Worked out good.
Would you like to see, just when you look at the weather situations, when you look at health, would you like to see maybe a second one added for college football?
I know they want to do that. I think television wants to do that. So ultimately, if TV wants to do it, it'll happen. I've got in on a few of those conversations. Based on the academic calendar of the players and the strain that they go through for bowl preparation, I don't know if it's good to push it back much further. And then they have other limitations now, recruiting, the way that they've trimmed the calendar down and the time that we can be out in recruiting. If you play late games in early December, then you can't be out on the road recruiting if you're trying to coach your team. I guess you can, but we don't. We stay here and coach our team. So essentially, you lose 1 week out on the road, and it creates a disadvantage, in my opinion. Now, I know you have it in the championship game. If you're in the championship game, you're probably recruiting pretty good anyway. That's a big difference. So I'm not a big fan of it, but TV's going to dictate that. Whatever TV wants to do, we're all good with it.
Robert asked you a question on the call this morning about using the redshirt rule, getting some special teams or some freshmen in on special teams. It sounds like you don't have much interest in.
I didn't know anybody listened to those calls. No, we do, but we don't really. I don't foresee guys popping up now and playing in the games. I mean, some of our games are road games, so you only have a limited number of players that can travel. You generally don't have space to put guys on the plane that aren't in the too deep for the most part, based on special teams, kickers, holders, snappers, all those things. So, could it happen? Sure, but I just don't know that there's anybody now that we say, okay, you're going to be valuable to us if we put you on the starting kickoff team compared to who's out there now. Unless you were fortunate enough to be ahead and trying to get some other kids in the game. And at this point moving forward, I mean, we don't see a lot of that in Big 12 play.
You were asked about.
Go ahead. You never told me if there was any dove out there and eat it.
Go ahead, Jay.
Hadn't been very good.
That's what I heard. That's why I hadn't asked you.
Yeah, hadn't been great.
Right.
You were asked about Braden earlier. One play early where he got deep and then just didn't connect there, and what it looked like to us, maybe he slowed down a little bit because Taylor put it way out there.
He overthrew him. Yeah, it was. He was 7 yards behind him or something like that, maybe 10, and he just overthrew him. But he sure looked good running down the field. And he's really fast. I would say in his future, if he continues to work hard and does things right, and that he'll get a chance to catch some deep balls.
Mike, I can't remember, I listened to both the radio and the television channels Saturday. They said that
You listen to both, and I mute them. I don't ever listen to the TV.
Well, I don't listen to them both. I either have the
Well,
TV
radio,
on,
then.
and the.
Oh, I listen to you, yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. My question is about injured players that like I said, either the radio or the TV said the guy stayed at home. Is there any value in having some of those veteran guys travel or just talking to their replacements and encouraging and being there? And I mean, or do you just like to keep them at home to recuperate?
If we had unlimited rosters, we would take them. So like Stoner goes down, Stoner can't play, we have to take another receiver in case a disaster happened, and we had to put somebody out there. So Deontay Noel isn't healthy enough to play, so we have to take another. Rice Bray has to get on the bus because if something crazy happened, somebody's got to go in and play. Same thing on special teams. And so we don't have the luxury of just bringing those guys along because of the limited roster. Good? All right, guys. Appreciate it.